They give me 2 minutes here.
Okay, okay.
Okay, you were all set.
So last week we didn't have sound the entire meeting,
Just the beginning.
just
We
the beginning.
corrected it.
Oh, we did correct it?
Yes.
Okay,
It is
so
on tonight.
good. All right. I said she would call me if there's a problem. All right, so good morning. Good afternoon, sorry. We are opening the zoning board of appeals. We moved the meeting, so this is the meeting for August. The first thing I'd like to do is approve the July 9th meeting minutes. Did you guys have a chance to look at them? They look good to everybody?
Yes,
I thought they looked fine. Okay. So I'd motion to approve the July 9th meetings.
I'll make a motion.
I'll say. Good. Vote.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay. Village board updates. Tim, do we have any village board updates? No? Okay, cool. Director of Planning, Zoning and Code Enforcement updates. Do we have any of that?
Just a reminder that if your 4 training hours by the end of the year, and I'll keep reminding it, so you can check with Nicole on where you stand. The 2 of you that are new members, I think there's a little bit of a dispensation on the 4 hours because you didn't become members until mid-year, so.
Okay, all right.
That's it.
Okay, resolution to change the date, we already.
Yeah, so the reasoning for this is I will be on vacation the week of September 9th, and there is nobody to take my place.
Okay,
So the 2 dates that are available are both Thursdays. Unfortunately, the last Thursday in September was not available. So, excuse me, the last Tuesday. So either of those 2 dates works, they are both open to move the meeting to. And you're certainly welcome to have the meeting without me, but I don't know who we would have be here to do all the other parts, so.
okay. I'm not seeing anything glaring. I wish I'd known about this earlier.
No, I'm sorry, I put it in the
Okay.
agenda, but
Yeah.
I should have mentioned it to
It's
you.
fine, it's
Yeah.
fine. Does anyone have any problems with either dates? You're good, is
I
everyone
can
good?
only do the 19th.
All right, we'll do the 19th. Are you good with the 19th? Okay, good. We're gonna do the 19th. Okay, so I'd like to have a motion to change the zoning board of appeals meeting from September 10th to September 19th.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, vote. Aye, passes unanimously. Okay, cool. Now to the area variance, this is the parking thing we talked about. Everyone's read it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you did a great job writing it up.
Mhm.
Okay, anyone have anything to add? Okay, so I have a motion to accept the memo of decision on the parking application. Motion, second, vote.
Aye.
Aye, okay, cool. I will sign that when you need me to. I can do it right now if you want me to sign it.
Sure.
Okay.
That's it.
What's
The
that?
signature on the last page, and I'll fill out all the rest.
Thank you. Okay. All right, I'd like to have a recessive meeting to confer with legal counsel.
Do we have to do anything or just do it?
Okay, cool. All right, we'll be back in very quickly.
Okay, let's get us back out on the. Thank you. Okay, so the meeting is reconvened at 7:19 p.m.
Just for giggles, how long were we in there? 5 minutes or 20?
Well, about 10, 11.
Okay. Well, all right, Terry, come on down.
Terry or the first one?
I thought, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Ron, sorry, Ron, you're up first. Come on down. Take a seat.
I recognize the tone, but not the name. Yeah.
Hi. Okay, so tell us so what do you want to do?
Did you get papers?
Yes, they
Yeah,
were all submitted to
yeah, we're
paper.
all that's favorite, yes,
Well, I'm appealing the decision of building inspector.
yes. And you feel he made an error because of what part of, why do you feel he made an error?
Because he didn't cite the health problems.
Okay. But he did cite some stuff there. You did read it, right?
Let's be specific, please.
Okay, so in order to get a service of water and sewage and electric, and you have to have a domicile, you have to have a house. So for example, that's sort of what you need to have to hook that up to. So that's what the whole thing he was talking about, was that was the major issue, was
That's
that.
what he spoke about, yeah.
Yes, so so you're arguing that you have a house there? Cause I walked by the property, I didn't see one.
Home on Mulberry Street is my home.
Yes,
The village gives me a federal exemption on that home. The federal government says it's my home. It is without electricity, running water, and sewer, which is a violation of the code. Without electricity, you can't have running water and you can't have sewer.
Mhm.
Central Hudson has been there twice. It can hook up to the structure. It requires a permit. That's what I applied for.
okay, so electricity. And
Well, hold on.
I'm not,
Basically.
well, wait, no.
I almost.
Wait, you have to let me talk occasionally,
Fine,
okay?
in a moment, let me do my 250.
Okay,
Without electricity, sewer, and water, it's constructive eviction. The village has made the place uninhabitable. If you want to buy it, tell me.
okay, I'm not in the real estate business,
Well, no, but the man who writes the check is the liaison from the village board. He was not here. Who is
Okay.
the health officer of
okay,
the village?
we have to back up a little bit. It is my understanding that you can have electricity run to a parcel. And that is pretty easy to do. You don't need, you can run temporary electric to a parcel.
I believe so.
Yeah, and I believe that's the situation there. You can run electricity to that parcel. They do it all the time. They put a pole, you put a meter on the pole, and you put some plugs on it, and you're in business.
That's good.
So that takes care of the electric. To hook up sewage and water, though, you need to have a house.
Yeah,
Okay,
fine.
so a house is defined as not what you have.
Wait. No, I understand where you're going. Let's go back to the freestanding thing. There's one out here on the Peace Park sign.
Yeah,
There's one on 32 at my market.
yeah,
and there's one on Huguenot Street and Henry Court.
Yes,
That would give me electricity,
yep,
fine. As far as what's to follow, I know where the man is. We'll work it out. We'll put in whatever's required.
I don't know who you're talking about.
You want a house, a home to be built there. This is a question, not rhetorical. Does the village have a minimum square footage and how many rooms constitute a home, house?
Yeah, there's minimum square footages, they have definitions of houses, they have definitions of escape routes, multiple entrances, they have all sorts of stuff in the building code that a travel trailer doesn't have. Like how many doors are in that unit?
And
In your travel trailer, how many doors are there?
one,
Yeah, so you need to have multiple doors in and out of a house, like there's minimum size requirements. So the person who, the building inspector who wrote the answer to your questions, he pretty much explained that.
yes, but he doesn't know the state and federal definition of a dwelling.
Yeah, but
Which includes all, what's the word, perambulars.
yeah, the federal government for certain, okay, so the federal government for certain things has definitely done that. But they also, you can also claim a park bench as your domicile. And you then can't hook up sewage to that.
But I'm paying taxes, and my taxes are going for.
I'm not, yes, you
Okay.
pay taxes.
So, why don't we get the permit to put in a freestanding, whatever required, electrical thing like on 32 in Peace Park, and we'll have electric. Then we will file all the necessary papers to put in some type of structure that the village finds acceptable as a home.
That would be fine. You can do that. And you don't, it would take you a couple of hours to do that. As opposed to a 3-month period of doing this, of what you're doing right now.
1 year.
No, if you file for an electrical permit to have a pole dropped on there, that should take the building inspector.
Yeah, and I'm not even certain that I don't know the requirements.
Yeah, I don't-
May or may not require a pole even,
Yeah,
but there would need to be an application made to bring electric to the property, not to a structure.
yes.
Fine.
And that's,
That can be done.
that can be done, but the water and the sewage, I'm not seeing a way forward with this. Okay, I'm seeing the electrical pretty easy.
Yes,
I'm gonna say I agree with the ruling that the building inspector made there.
well, let's get on with, I'll address that another time. Yeah, let's just be expedient and get in the electric. And that's it.
Okay, so what you need to do is go to the building department, ask to put the electric in and get a permit and,
Well, I will confer with Alex tomorrow and find out what the requirements of the permit are and what application you would need for that.
Well, okay, great. See ya.
okay. Alright. Okay,
Does he need to have to withdraw the appeal, David, or is it just considered that it's,
I don't, we discussed the appeal,
okay,
so,
let's just set it aside for next month and see what happens, but we can.
okay, why don't we wait and see what happens with applying for the
Earliest
permit?
decision, or the legal basis for it, or Ron's objection to it.
Okay,
The best I heard was that Ron was objecting to it based on telling federal designation, which I presumed was an ADA thing, that I even said the law and all this stuff. Well, I was under the impression Corey denied an application for electric.
yeah, he denied it for connecting to the travel trail.
I know.
Yeah.
but we were negotiating that Ron thinks that he's allowed to connect electric.
Not to the trailer, but he can bring electric to a vacant parcel,
Okay,
so, yeah.
I'm not sure where that leaves us or where that sends, but
If it seems we didn't ask anything of us related to the appeal.
I'm sorry.
If he's only wishing to go to the building inspector for permission to put electric to a parcel, then.
Well, he's not. He wants to get, he wants to get it in the trailer.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he left with the intent to just attach it to a parcel, and left with sewage and water and.
Right, but if he hooks it up to that trailer, then.
That's what Corey denied the permission for.
But he could bring it to a meter on the parcel. With a permit, so. That
Would not be able to do anything,
He won't be able to do anything beyond that until he has a legal dwelling,
you
but
know.
as he said, we'll work that out later. So-
What was Corey's reasoning for denying it, the fact that the intent is to hook it up, so then you put the electricity there, you then,
Well, but
He's
now,
gonna hook up,
the,
right,
the
and then
building
now-
inspector will have to monitor it to make sure that that doesn't happen. But there's nothing to stop you from bringing electric to a parcel. If you meet all the criteria, and I don't know what the criteria are, but, whether you had a camper there or not, you can still bring electric to the parcel, you just can't connect it to the camper.
Okay,
Okay, so what are we, that was weird.
Well, we can just consider it held over right now, tabled for the moment.
Okay,
would you know where, any information beyond where we could find the criteria for?
I'll speak with Alex tomorrow. I'm not a building code guy. I'm a planning and zoning guy, so.
a travel trailer. Like, it doesn't meet a ton of things.
No, I'm just wondering what the criteria is to bring it to a parcel.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but I'm sure Alex and Pat will both
Alex's
know.
basic finding is that the travel trailer was not, acceptable, as a zone use on the parcel. That was fundamentally his finding.
And that was similar to what Corey had written here in his.
I'm sorry, that's a quote.
Corey, that's Corey's finding, not Alex.
Yeah.
I'm still, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not listed as a principally permitted.
Meaning that, and now if it was a house, it would be different.
Correct.
If it was a double, if it was like a residential type of a trailer, I think it still would violate the zoning, but at least it wouldn't have violated I think it also violates state health codes and things like that, and I think the double wide is good for that, but
You can connect it to a residential type
but
trailer.
not in this, but not in that zone.
Oh,
The
possibly.
Yeah, that zone is not one, that, I mean, it's not one of the.
So that was the decision, and we never got to this discussion.
All right,
Why don't we make a motion to table it?
okay,
I'll make a motion to table the application. First 21 Mulberry Street.
vote. Unanimous, okay. All right, Terry, come on down.
Anyone who's in need of printed copies of some of the material, I have some of it. I don't have all of the copy, but I think you have.
So I just want to say before we started, I had been in putting stuff together, anticipating coming in at their September meeting, so I don't have all the material organized as well as I want to, and the presentation may be a little rough, I'm sorry about that.
Well, the likelihood is that if the board can set a public hearing for September, and you can come in and, I'm sorry, the board, what's before the board tonight is whether to set a public hearing for September. So as soon as we get to the point where we can make that decision, we'll be good. In September.
Right, but will the board want my testimony, presenting the problem first before you do that, or when?
It's up to the board, but I would say the first step for tonight is to clarify each of your claims on appeal.
To clarify what?
Your claims on appeal.
Yes.
If we
I'm
can
sorry,
get your claims straightened out,
the acoustics are not great in here, so I have to.
and I don't have a vibrate. So what we need to do is clarify your claims on appeal.
Yes,
And then the board can decide if they need any more information
right.
before the board decides whether to set a public hearing.
And, Mr. Chairman, just to correct a mistake on the agenda, this is zoning district R2. It was a typo on my part, saying R3, and I just want to correct that.
Okay.
So I want to remind the board, as they do sometimes, because this is not a variance application, there's no factors or anything, that there's no weighing the public interest or anything. Mr. Duncan's alleging that Alex's decision was an incorrect application of the law in certain specifics. And that's all we're gonna do when we get to that point. We're gonna hear from the public, we're gonna hear from Mr. Duncan, hear from the public, maybe hear from Alex as well, hear from the town, hear from the village. And then what we're gonna do is for each one of the allegations, we're gonna decide whether Alex's decision was consistent or inconsistent with the code. That's all we're going to do. So we're just acting like judges here.
Okay. So the section of code that we're dealing with is 21263C. And what it says is, it shall be the duty of the building inspector to issue the proper permits, provided that he is satisfied that the structure or the building and the proposed use conform with all the requirements of this chapter, state building code and so on. So it's really a two-part condition here. There is the structure and the building, being compliant with everything, and there is the proposed use being compliant. The structure and the building deals mainly with, the uniform code, and the use you're dealing with the zoning regulations. The building inspector of New Paltz is actually serving two purposes. He's a building inspector and the zoning enforcement officer. In large municipalities, they would split the jobs, but here it's both together. And so the key, part of the key in evaluating his work is to be able to separate those two functions and deal with them within the appropriate context. Leading up to the issuance of the building permit, was the last couple of weeks of the planning board, just before they voted to approve it. They approved the application on May 21st. And on May 7th, one of the board members, Rich Sudo, made this statement at the beginning of at the early part of the meeting. He said, I want to make sure that we, as a planning board, are feeling confident with the site plan review and the completeness of the application that are coming before the planning board, because what we did see in this proposal earlier is that there was some incomplete element to the application, and yet it was still before us as if it were a complete application. I want to ask that maybe the building department review be reminded that we are relying on them for elements of the plans that we are not capable as volunteers of confirming. We're just asking for reliability in that. And with a clear statement that they don't really know the code and they're relying on the building inspector to manage that part of it for them. On the 21st, just before they voted.
Okay, Terry, we really need to know what
Yes.
was broken. We don't need to know the history. We're all very
Right.
familiar with it. We've all read all your documentation. So you're telling us stuff we're already aware of, like, we know about all this stuff.
Okay.
So we just
So-
need, what we need is clarification
Yes.
on the actual laws that were broken. So this window A is too small.
Right.
This staircase is in the wrong spot. We don't need, we understand the history.
So
Everyone's ready.
in the plan, the final plan that the board reviewed, there were 5 bedrooms in the existing building. Bedroom number 3 is problematic because bedroom number 3 contains the stairway to the basement.
Wait, come back, are you talking about the existing building or the new building that they're building?
I said the existing building,
Why is that before us?
because that they worked on it. They submitted a plan for significant work, changing the layout of the building.
Of the existing building, not the new
That's
building,
correct.
okay?
And one of the problems is they did not actually submit that plan until after the public hearing, just a few weeks before they approved the application. So the public never got to review that.
There's nothing
So
to do
anyway,
with that.
So with that plan, the big problem, one of the big problems is that the basement stairs are in bedroom number 3. Now, the state code stipulates that
Okay,
you have to have a guarantee of privacy.
okay, that's not true. The staircase is not in bedroom number 3. In the plans it is, but it's not, in one of the copies of the plans, it's not actually correct. The stairway is in the hallway, and there's also an egress into the basement. That there's an exterior door into the basement. So they would never have to go, even if someone had to go into the basement, they could do it without getting into the
There are 2
thing.
basements. The
Okay,
existing house has one, and the former chiropractor's office has another. So the exterior entrance is for the chiropractor's basement,
Mhm.
but with the existing building, it's in the house. It used to be in the kitchen, but their plan shows that it's now, that wall is covered over, and the plan shows that the basement stairs are now in bedroom number 3.
Okay. The
I know, I haven't been. in,
building
but-
inspector told me something different, but I could not get into the
And
building.
also.
But I will go
the-
into the building and check.
The plan that they had when they approved it showed the stairway as being in bedroom 3, and on July 3rd, they came in and submitted a new set of plans, and on the new plans, they also showed the stairway in bedroom number 3.
Mhm.
So you have 2 basements with an entrance to each separate one.
Okay.
So just to clarify, you're saying
I'm
that,
sorry,
just to clarify, you're saying that in the plans for the new building, one of the 2 basements, the stairs down to it are in bedroom 3.
in the new building, the stairway is separate from the kitchen. In the original building, the 1890 house, the stairway to the basement is shown in the plans as being in bedroom number 3. It used to be in the kitchen, but the kitchen cabinets have been extended so that they close off the original basement entrance. And the plans show it, and there's 2 plans. There's the plans that the board had before them when they voted, and the plans that were brought in just as they got the building permit on July 3rd. And both of those plans showed the stairway as being in bedroom number 3.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Is
The
this,
other thing,
is there something that we should, how does this impact our decision?
Well, there's 2 things here.
Yeah.
One, I just texted the planning board attorney. To confirm, to check what Mr. Duncan is saying, and I specifically am asking whether the staircase work and what's being alleged is the staircase in the bedroom is in the existing house, and she says it's not. She says the only work that was approved on the existing house was removing the back extension and replacing the siding to match the new section. So this is a complete misunderstanding about whether or not, about what the work is that Mr. Duncan was talking about, because what we're hearing, what I'm hearing from the planning board is that there was no interior work done on the existing house other than removing the extension and replacing the siding. So right now, we've got a factual issue, and we don't have any documentation, so that's just gonna be a problem. We have to get.
I do have the plans, but just to clarify, the planning board does not approve anything interior, they approve the site plan, which is just the boundary of the.
Okay. The second thing, which is much broader, which I want to point out, Mr. Duncan is quite correct in saying that the building inspector serves two roles in doing all of this work. One is essentially to apply the state variety of state building code, the building code, the fire code, et cetera, electrical codes, all that stuff. And the second is to apply the village zoning code. However, despite the fact that the building inspector does do both those things and presumably did do both of those things here, rightly, wrongly, or otherwise, the ZBA only sits in appeal on the zoning issues. That's in your code, number one, and number two, it's, I haven't checked out to see whether it's specified in state law, but state law provides an alternative appeal procedure for allegations such as we're hearing that a code enforcement or a building inspector decision is not consistent with the state fire code or the state building code. That basically the Department of State handles those with a regional review board. So this board's jurisdiction is essentially limited to the zoning issues. So
That
to these,
is incorrect.
excuse me,
If you look at state zoning law,
there is no state
Articles-
zoning law. Oh, you mean
state zoning law,
the
Article 7 stipulates that for the purpose of hearing an appeal, the ZBA has all of the power and authority of the official whose decision is being appealed. Or it makes no differentiation between local zoning and state
I'd
zoning.
like to see that section. What I think I hear you saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that from time to time, when an official sits on appeal, whether it's this ZBA or an appellate court, there's a question that comes up as to what's the extent of the allowable appeal? Typically, what it comes down to for an appellate court, whether the appellate court only sits an appeal on the law or whether they can also redetermine the facts. And secondarily, if it's on the law, whether they have what's called de novo review, which means they would approach the question of law as if the lower court, or in this case, the building inspector, did nothing new, or whether they have to pay some respect to the level decision. Some of you who pay attention to national news may have heard over the last couple of months that the Supreme Court made a decision on something called Chevron. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. What that means is Chevron is a decision goes back to the 80s. I mean, this is a different context, but it gives you some sense of what I'm talking about. Where a court sitting in review of an administrative decision, let's say by the EPA, has to give the EPA's decision on the law, even though it's not a court, some respect. In other words, you can't just sit new. So I think what Mr. Duncan is saying is the question whether this body makes a completely new decision, which it does. It can toss out the building inspector's decision and make a new decision by itself. It does not mean, however, that you have jurisdiction over code about building code issues and fire code issues. That's why I very much want to see what he's referring to. You can bring that up the next time. If the board wants, we can move forward to parse these rules a little more. But I do have authority, including the wording of this board is constituted under the village code. The village code allows this board to sit in judgment of the building inspector's decisions for matters under this chapter. And I actually downloaded it. I can read it if you want. This chapter means the village zoning law. So if you want, I'll just read that to you right now. So that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, I think we need to, okay, so listen, why don't we do this first? Why don't we find out all the violations that you think that the building inspector messed up? Let's get through that first. And then we can figure out whether or not we can actually rule on this.
Right.
Okay, so let's sort of take this one step at a
So
time.
there is
Okay.
the question of the stairway.
Okay,
As you can
stairways.
see on the plans,
Yeah.
they show the bedroom.
Yes,
And also, if you look at the plans, they do not indicate a dining room. Now, originally, the house, that part of the house on the north side,
are you talking about the original house or the new house?
the original house,
Okay, the original house.
no dining room. Originally, it was the owner of the house had it set up so that he cooked and ate in the kitchen. It was an eating kitchen, and then he did, he had his living area upstairs where the bedrooms are. Because the rest of the house was devoted to the chiropractic practice.
Okay,
So for one individual, as a homeowner, that's viable, you can do that. But when you have a rental property, you must have a separate dining room. You can, the state code allows for having a combined living dining room. But there is no allowance in the state law for combined kitchen and dining area. So as a rental property with 5 tenants, you need a separate dining area with 80 square feet. Or you can have a combined living dining area of 200 square feet. But again, if you look at the plans, there is no dining room. If you look at the plan, it appears to be a reliance on the eating kitchen, and that's just not allowable.
how big is the eating kitchen?
The eating kitchen, the dining area, the open area for dining is a little bit about 60 square feet.
Okay.
So it's 20 square feet under what the state would require.
Okay.
Our local code, defers to the state. We don't have a separate, standard for that.
Mr. Duncan, I'm sorry, I missed a little bit of that. Can you again tell me what the state rule is you claim is being, I'd like a couple of things. One is what the rule is that's being violated. And second, I want to clarify, are you claiming that the building permit violates that state law, that state code, or is it the site plan approval? Because you're making a number of references to the site.
The section of the zoning code that I'm.
The zoning code.
Section 21263C is zoning,
Let me-
and that specifically says all the laws, village and state.
Let me back up a step. You mentioned that in your papers, you mentioned it tonight. That's essentially a pass through. You're claiming that.
Okay, wait, let's get all these down.
No,
Let's hear all the concerns and then we can argue this, because we're gonna end up doing this for every single one.
okay,
Okay, so the first problem is the stairway.
Right.
Okay, the second problem is there's no dining room.
Zoning.
Okay, is that the only two problems?
Pardon?
Is that the only two problems?
Yes, the bedroom, no. In terms of state code, yes, but the bedroom is a violation of 2 sections of state code.
Which bedroom? In the original
Bedroom number
storage,
3.
bedroom number
The
3.
existing house, because the stairway is indicated in the bedroom, that
Okay,
means 2 things. That means that the person who lives in that bedroom, their bedroom is essentially a hallway by which the other.
okay, wait, is this the stairways though? You're still talking about the stairway.
Yes,
So you have there's two,
sections of state code
okay.
that are affected by the stairway.
Okay, and that's okay, so the first thing, so there's two things that you think that the building inspector got wrong. The first one is, there's a stairways inside bedroom number 3, which is causing a whole bunch of problems. And the other one is that there's no dining room. And it needs to have a dining room in order to, because it needs to have a living room that's
It's a
significantly
rental
bigger.
part plan.
Yes, so those are the only two things that are wrong.
No.
Okay, so what else is wrong?
Window, all right, if you look at the plans, the elevations show on the south side that there is a fireplace in what's bedroom number, I forget, 4 or 5. That's a fireplace, which is left over from when it used to be an apartment.
Okay,
But if you look at the floor plans indicate that there's no fireplace. The code, section 21223A stipulates that before the plans can be considered, they must be complete and in the proper form. So when you have a set of plans that contradict each other, they are not in the proper form. It was the building inspector's responsibility to straighten that out before the planning board approved it and he had issued a permit. So that inconsistency in the plans is a violation of section 212-23, which was never resolved.
Okay,
Um. uh,
is this the exterior fireplace that they ripped off, or is there another fireplace besides that one?
This is just the one.
That was ripped off the building?
Pardon?
Is this the one on the north wall?
No, this was on the south wall. Here,
There was on the side.
It was, and it was ripped off. Yes, that's the top
what
wall.
was removed?
Yeah, sorry, yes.
But
Okay,
the
so,
elevations showed them saving it. So
Yeah.
what were they supposed to do?
well, it's ripped down. It's not
Now
there.
it's ripped out.
It's ripped out. It's not there anymore.
Okay. Um. There are two very big things with it. Generally, the site plan, which was prepared, the village code stipulates that in the R2 district, the maximum lot coverage is 30%. And you can make, you can see, well, anyway, maximum lot coverage is 30%. This lot, that the number 7, is 22,600 square feet. So the maximum lot coverage would be 6,780 square feet. But the actual lot coverage, if you actually do the calculations, is over 6,900 feet. The actual lot coverage is 86 square feet over. However, the site plan has left out a feature. On the southwest corner of the house, there was a stone patio, and it's still there, with a stone walkway leading to the sidewalk. So that is not indicated on the site plan. That is about 92 square feet. So if you add the stone patio and the walkway to the already overage of 84 square feet, you now have 176 square feet over the allowable lot coverage. But then there's another problem. What they're building, and let me show you that because I don't know if you've seen it. If you were to go visit the site, a stop work order was issued today because they're building
Eric, we know about the stuff.
or what?
I found that.
What you didn't see?
I measured it and I found that.
So,
So we know about the stop work order. We know that
about the what?
we know about the stop work order
Yes.
because I
And have you
measured,
seen why?
yeah, I measured it. I'm the one who found it.
Okay, so well, we found it too, before the issued stop work order. But it's what, it's 26 feet long by 10 feet wide, or thereabouts. Which would be 260 square feet. So when you add the 260 to 176, you now have a site development, which is 436 square feet larger than the code allows.
No, that's not the problem.
Pardon?
The building was put in the wrong spot.
No. The site, the development of the site is a larger area than the code allows. The code only allows 6,780 square feet, and they are 436 square feet over the allowable lot coverage. So they have overdeveloped the lot.
Okay,
And part of that is that extra building space in the middle, but not all of it.
yeah, I don't, so what happened there was that the building was supposed to be more towards the structure they built, the new
You're talking
structure.
two different things, Sean. He's talking about the distance, not the side yard, so.
Okay, so. All right,
Oh, here.
He's speaking about.
Have we
yeah.
listed all the issues?
Yeah, there's. Okay. So,
Now, what that space is, that is actually part of the original building, which was supposed to be demolished.
mhm. Okay, so this. So this part right here, this distance right here.
Yeah.
This is not, this here is, sorry.
No. Here. Let me find it, I've got it.
We're talking about.
Yeah, you're going into the side yard, but he's still talking
Let's
about
just
the
say
back.
focus.
All right, just stay focused.
Otherwise, I can just finish, yeah.
Okay.
But to confirm to the board, what he just spoke about is the reasoning that the stop work order was issued today, because indeed that section of the existing home was noted as being removed on the site plan and was not. removed.
Yes, yes, yes,
That is the reason the stop work order was issued.
yeah. So,
So this top picture
mhm,
is what's supposed to be there with the
Yes.
plan work through. The bottom picture is what's actually there.
okay,
And you've got that one segment in the middle,
okay,
between the existing house and the new house.
okay,
There's
I see what you're
that
saying.
segment.
All right. So that was supposed to be demoed?
Yes.
And it wasn't demoed?
Which part?
Correct, this part right here.
What are the dimensions on that? The part that was supposed to be removed?
And that's about,
It is,
Yeah.
we measured it today, yesterday, it was 11.6, and I believe you said it was 26 wide, I believe it was 26
So the
wide.
length is 11 feet 6 inches.
11 feet 6 inches by, I believe, it was either 11 or 11.6,
And the
Right.
width is about 20.
no, approximately 26, 25 to 26. And that was marked on the site plan as being to be removed and was not removed before the new construction happened.
That's 2300 square feet.
Which was the reasoning
Yeah.
for the stop work order.
What? Well, there's a, yeah, okay, so that's, okay,
That's happened there.
yeah, no, that's very bad. Yeah, there's also,
It's not like the building messed up.
Now, did the building permit
I didn't like.
require the removal of that?
you're not following the plans,
That section?
or there was
So,
plans, something happened.
well, let's let him finish and then.
Yeah, let's let you finish.
Yeah, and then I can answer whatever.
over the level,
Okay,
site development, part of that is that room, which is there illegally because it was not approved by the planning board. It was not part of the submitted plan, it's illegal construction, and the problem is the building permit was issued on July 3rd. The building inspector went to the site to make an inspection on July 5th. So he would have seen that because that's part of the original house. And he would have seen, when he went to inspect the footings, he would have seen that piece, which is not supposed to be there. And he did nothing about it. And he went back to the site again on July 24th to inspect the full foundation had been poured. And again, it was very obvious, you can't miss it. So he would have seen it, and again, he took no enforcement action. And that has been there with his knowledge for 7 weeks, and he refused to enforce. The neighbors have tried to communicate about that,
mhm,
but he's been unresponsive.
okay. Yeah,
So as far as the actual code, before he issued permit, you've got the sections of state code in the existing house. And you also got the excessive lot development, which is on the site plan. And so those things had to be taken care of before the permit was issued. Section 212-63C specifically stipulates that all the non-compliances must be cleared before the permit is issued. The fact that he issued a permit with non-compliances existing on the site is a violation of the code. You should not have done that. You should have made sure that everything was in the right order and code compliant before he issued the permit. And then when he saw that on the site, he saw that 2 days after the permit, he should have immediately stopped work, but he did not. And that's the complaint.
Okay. All right.
I can fill in some of what I'm aware of. I don't want to speak for Alex, but there's some, I have some knowledge of some of what was mentioned, and I could fill the board in if you would like.
Yeah, okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 items, just to clarify this. The first one is the stairways in bedroom number 3. The second one is no dining room. The third one is the fireplace, not no plans. And the fourth one is the max lovers of max lot coverage is over because of the stone patio and walkway. And then the big one is that they added 460 square feet that were not in the original plans.
Or the other way to say it is there was a piece of the existing structure that was supposed
To
to
be
be
demolished and was not. Yeah,
The handout fell.
yes,
Okay, now remember what I had said initially.
yeah,
That 21263C is in 2 parts. The first part is the building and the structure. The first part of 21263C is the building code. The second part, it specifies the use of what's going to be built. So having dealt this so far, we've just dealt with the code. Now we have to deal with the zoning regulation violation and the use. The key thing is zoning section 21254, which stipulates when you're going to do construction like this, you are prohibited from expanding or enlarging a prohibited use. And that is the problem, because in the R2 zone, you're only allowed to have a single or 2-family house in occupancy use now. And this can get confusing because the term single-family residence is used in the building code and the zoning. It's the same term, but it has a different meaning in the way it's being used. So in the zoning, you can have a 2-family residence, a 1-family residence, you can have an arts application, or you can have a religious application. You have 4 ways that you can use your property. So structurally, in terms of the code, it might be a single-family residence, but you might be using it as an art studio. So the use is going to be different than the structure. And the issue here is that the house was built as a single-family residence, but it's not being used as a single-family residence. It's being used as a single-room occupancy rooming house, which is prohibited in the R2 zone. In the R3 zone, that would be legal, but in the R2 zone, it is absolutely prohibited. And so, under 21254, when you have something like a rooming house, you absolutely cannot enlarge it because you're enlarging a prohibited use. And until that use is cleared up, you cannot enlarge this building. And the problem is that for this school year, the tenants have already moved in. So it is set as a rooming house for the next calendar year. And he cannot enlarge that. And it's prohibited, strictly prohibited by the code. And it's more than just us saying that. The residents who are here tonight in the back would like to make a statement in terms of the use. We live there, we observe the house, we observe the tenants. We can testify to the fact that it is a rooming house. For example, myself, I walk past the house all the time when I'm going downtown and coming back. And I see the tenants a lot, coming and going from the house with their cars and so on. They're all 20-something kids, they're college students. For 10 years, I lived next to a rooming house. I made a point of going over every fall and introducing myself, helping the students if they had any problems, if they had questions about things in the village, like the parking when it snows. I would be sure to help them with that. So I'm very familiar with rooming houses and rooming house occupancy, and it's clear to me that this is a rooming house. And some of the residents over here would like to read your statement, evidentiary statement, material as to that house.
Okay, we are 100% not doing that. We will have public comments at another time, but I can assure you that I have walked by that and I agree with what you're saying. So to have 4 people repeat what you just said would be silly and would just be, we all are familiar with the property. It's a boarding house. Yep, can we agree on that? Yep, everyone agrees?
My question is,
Yeah.
has Alex tried to enforce the
So,
code?
when you'd like to hear from me, I can answer
Okay.
what was just.
So I just wanted to take care of that and we'll have public
I mean,
hearing.
I
Another
understand that
time.
you're just trying to decide to set your public hearing.
Yes.
And it's something that might always
Yeah.
get into.
There's also another problem with the property that you didn't notice. The new structure is built 6 foot over the easement. So the new structure was supposed to be more towards your house and it was built in the wrong location. So not only is it too far back, it's also too far to the left.
We believe it's 2 feet, not
It's
6.
2 feet?
We believe, but we have not.
Yeah,
been able to
it's-
confirm where the lot line is.
Okay, but
Is
it's,
this?
the new structure.
Side yard setback?
yes,
Yeah.
so that's also another problem.
Hmm.
That when I went there and I measured it at 10 feet. From the.
Yeah, we have to confirm where the lot line is.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah, it's
there's
not-
some other, that's the other reason why there's a stop work order, is because of that. So, yeah, this is a mess. Does anyone want to add something before we
Well, I
have the
don't-
lawyer talk? Or anyone have any questions?
The only thing I would ask is, I appreciate you taking the time to identify these things individually. Is it possible to provide us with like a bullet point of each of these issues and the specific section you're citing that we should be looking at and any applicable state
Yeah.
law as well? I'm not looking for a letter, just simply
One page. of
one
bullet.
page bullet point of all the violations with applicable.
So we can go look up those
So
laws.
you're all,
In the uniform code. Part,
I'm not asking you to give it to me now, you can just.
do you want the section numbers?
Well, could you just give it to us in writing?
In writing,
Could you summarize you submitted an application with many pages that were a little bit hard for us to parse. And so I'm wondering if you could just give us a brief outline of what, I think that's what you're.
Yeah,
asking
it's
for, a
exactly.
Brief outline of like, here's the thing that's the violation, here's the specific law that it's violating.
Right.
So that we could go read the law and then,
Yes,
start thinking about
Yeah.
it that way.
so,
That would be really helpful.
your part 26 of the uniform code, the privacy issue is,
We don't need it now, we need it at the next meeting. That's
Oh,
what we're asking.
Yes, that's all, for our next meeting, that's
For
all.
next
Yeah,
month.
yeah, no,
So
no.
if you got that in early,
I already have.
Yeah.
okay, so if you just simplified that, like, top of page, this is what they did. And then
I'll make it
underneath it,
for you.
list of.
Make a list,
yes,
a bullet
exactly.
point, really simple.
Yeah, really simple, that
And
was,
especially citing whatever state and including, like you mentioned earlier, the bedroom violates
Okay.
2 state codes.
Right.
You can identify which codes those are. It just allows us to look at that as well.
Sure.
do you have any questions?
No.
Okay,
I would love to hear what Mike has to say.
Actually, maybe it might be more appropriate if we just respond in writing to the board and rather than, because it's not really fair if I get to speak tonight and other people don't. in my
Yes.
opinion.
yes, okay.
So we'll respond in writing to you
Okay.
for the next meeting.
That would be fabulous. Now, I cut the lawyer off, which I'm really apologetic for, but I had to do it, so. I never did that to you before. I apologize, but we were gonna be here for a while, so,
You're the boss. Bro.
okay.
I have one overall comment, and it's an extension of what was just asked of you is essentially to specify the code sections that you're alleging were violated. But actually the chair cut me off on before was, you keep on going back to one sort of what I'm calling a pass-through code section, which basically says when the building inspector writes a building permit, he's got to, essentially implement all of the section, all of the zoning code and the building code and everything else. And you're alleging that he violated that, which is fine, and actually is impressive because it does bring the fire code back into the zoning. But we need the specifics, so we need the specific codes that were violated. We also need something more, which is, at least in my opinion, you guys can either ratify or not. Everything you've said tonight has basically been oral, and even when you were asked about the code sections, I don't know what evidence there is of essentially any of the things that you said, and I'm concerned that in at least one instance, we have a different impression of what building is involved, and I haven't yet worked through that because you were alleging it was in the existing building and it may have been in the new building, maybe, let me finish.
Right.
The overall thing is for everything you said, including just as an example, the square footage, the coverage being off. It's just an allegation. It's a verbal allegation that is actually on paper as well, but I don't know how many square feet this thing covers. Nobody knows. And so, okay, we need for everything you're alleging, we need to know what the evidence is of if there's a staircase is in the wrong place.
Right.
How this board, nobody knows this as a personal matter. Nobody's been in the building. Probably we haven't been to the planning board meeting where it was discussed. So you need to understand, this board knows nothing, and I'm not consulting anybody. We need to see from you a production of the an indication of evidence, so to speak,
Yeah.
or a demonstration, really,
Right.
of everything you're alleging. Otherwise, we have no knowledge of it.
Well,
And ultimately, the building inspector will probably be here next month and will explain his point of view. So for your point of view to carry the day, we need to have some evidence or some explanation or something to tell us what's going on in there that makes
what I
sense.
have, all I have is the submitted plans. This board has subpoena power. You had the power to go over there, whether the landlord likes it or not, and make a site visit. And actually take the drawings with you and walk in the building and compare the drawing plans to what's in the building.
Okay.
My impression is this, the plans are a good start, so you may wanna, if you, allegation number 2, point to on the plan where it is, so at least we'll have that. As far as the investigation issues are concerned, I can't speak for you guys. I doubt there's gonna be a lot of eagerness to go in and check all this out physically. The investigative arm of the village and of this board is going to the building inspector. And so it may well be that we ultimately ask Alex, did you look at this? Is what he's saying correct? Is it incorrect? And if there's still a disagreement,
Well,
go take.
if you-
I can go to the property
If
and
you-
get through it,
Well,
if we get
That-
permission
that's
from the
just what I'm
person.
saying. Unless we
I'm
get to that
willing
level,
to do
we're
that.
not gonna know whether what we're saying is.
And when you go, photograph everything, so that we can all see.
Yes, and yes,
Is that legal
Is what we do.
to take pictures or videos of a walkthrough or something?
Again, Alex is the building inspector.
With permission from the owner, absolutely, it's legal.
What about without
Well,
permission?
Alex is the building inspector. Alex is an inspector.
Because
He's your investigator.
But Alex cannot
Because-
inspect his own work.
So,
Or go
yeah,
back to us
because-
about his own work.
He can, it's not ideal, but.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Well,
Yeah.
that-
I think it would be better if one or two of
It's
us
better.
went,
You do.
and I'll go walk the property with Alex, and I will set.
I don't need to decide, no, I'm just want to explain to you, because a non-lawyer may not understand it, is you need to, you know so much about this, you've seen it over the years, you've seen it. These folks don't know anything and you have the burden of proof. So we will need to see, for everything that you're saying, we need some evidence that demonstrates that you're correct.
point I wanted to make. If it was just the building inspector wanting to go, the owner could say no, and the building inspector would have to go get a court order. But because the ZBA is a quasi-judicial body, they can issue a subpoena that the building inspector, in the Department of State has specified that. If you read the Department of State's publication
I don't,
on zoning board of appeals, that's specifically in there.
currently, he has a stop work order. I don't think that him refusing to let us walk the property would be in his best interest.
Anyway,
So I don't envision that being a problem. I think we can talk to Sam and be like, I wanna look at the property.
okay.
And I think if he said no, that would be really weird because there's a really good chance he's gonna be coming before this board because of the stuff that went on, so.
All right, so I will make, a full listing that clarifies exactly what's in the code. And I'll submit the plans also to go with it, with everything actually to clearly say what it's here.
And just to, the board will set the public hearing date, but I'm gonna assume that this will be on the September 19th. Since that's our next meeting that we just had.
Yes, I think that would be
So I would,
Public hearing?
Yes.
or-
public hearing.
so I would ask then that you could, if we say a week prior to give the board plenty of time to look, so by September 12th, if you can get all that information to my office and I will supply it to the board.
Very good.
Okay, and we will also, because this is a public hearing, the advertising notice will have to happen and that will come out of your escrow
Yes.
funds. But you will be responsible for sending the notice. Is this similar, David, to a public, my apologies, I'm not familiar. Does this have to be sent notice to everybody within 200 feet of radius like a planning board public hearing?
No, I don't think it does.
Okay, well, we will confirm.
The 500 feet,
It's 200 in the village,
200?
200. Seeker is 500, but,
But you might not.
He's not applying for, he's not an applicant,
Yeah.
he's not applying for, he's an appellant.
okay,
This is different.
so I didn't know.
I'll double check,
Yeah.
you know.
Larry, we had to notice the neighbors when we did see Mohawk 10 years ago.
An appeal? Okay,
We'll check, we'll check.
I want to make one other suggestion for you. At various different points in what you've said, you're making some legal claims. My impression is that you're looking for legal support for what your claims are. And in some cases, I may actually disagree with them. And so what I would ask you to do is to provide legal support for your claim. For just as an example, you stated that what you believe is happening in the existing house is a non-conforming use, just as one example, right? I'm not sure that that's the proper classification of what, even what you're alleging, even assuming what you're alleging is true, which is that there's just individual students living there. A non-conforming use has a pretty specific definition. And so my advice is go back and kick the tires on your own legal analysis, and if you think that there's a possibility of some questions, provide some support for it, because there are a number of legal things that you said that just may not be. Also, another example is you said that it was a boarding house. Is there a definition of a boarding house?
It's a rooming house.
Or whatever it is.
But it's all basically the same.
The point is,
Rooming house means no needles.
The point is, you've mentioned these things and the board is impressionable and listens to you. At some point, I'm gonna call into question some of the things that I may not agree with. So you think that the things you're claiming in order to connect A and B,
It would be helpful
What?
if you would email me the things that you disagree with, so I can make sure that my presentation on 12 will clarify those points.
Okay, I need to consider whether I should do that at this point, because we haven't yet heard from the village. But I will tell you right now that, I don't believe this is a non-conforming use. Even if it were, I don't believe this is an extension of a non-conforming use. And I don't believe that I don't believe it's being used.
Look, this I can have it in writing. It'll be easier.
Okay.
So, anyway,
I'm gonna say, I'm willing to be shown that I'm wrong if you have authority demonstrating you're correct. I'm just saying, as I sit here, that would be my legal interpretation. Some things are not, the argument is not entirely four square on the law.
okay. All right. So we got the lawyer to talk, we got Terry to talk, I think we're good.
By the way, do you have
Officially set
legal
up.
counsel?
Yes, okay,
Do you
so,
have legal counsel? I'd be happy to communicate with your
Say
attorney.
again? Not yet.
Do you have legal counsel?
Again, you just ask you when you send me your concerns. Specify.
Typically, a lawyer would communicate with a lawyer, but I don't need to send you a that.
okay, all right. So, I would like to, I motion to have a public hearing on the 19th for Prospect Street.
I'll make a motion.
Vote. Aye, okay, so we'll have a public hearing that day. And
On the, right, the 19th.
on the 19th, okay. So
And I will confirm with David what the legal, I know we have to post notice in the
Yeah.
newspaper. Obviously, we can't post notice on the property because it's not, the appeal is not brought by the landowner, so we'll have to sort through the law, and I freely admit I'm new to this.
I think everyone within 200 feet is going to be very aware of this problem. Okay, all right. Are there, okay, so we're good. So, I motion to have the meeting closed. Okay, second, okay, vote. Aye, okay, we're good. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
So we will submit a reply back from Alice and myself.
Did you kill the
Representative.
TV?